Hi. Hello.
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 Hello and welcome to Architecting.
But I think that has been the dilemma for me a little bit, where the idea of this podcast was just to focus on Colorado architects, where most podcasts, you're getting the national kind of coast people and kind of the same people. And so it was like, okay, let's focus on this specific area. And so it's been great to really build it up that way. But then you have this sort of natural inclination to want to go more national and hard and things. So it's been a little thing of, how do I keep it with the mission of it, but still be able to go outside? And so things like this, like the AIA conference where we get to talk to people like you is nice, and it doesn't break my rules for myself.
Well, I mean, it's all Western Mountain region, and I think we live and work in an incredible region.
Yeah.
Right.
When I love, so first, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to the conference. You just gave a beautiful keynote speech, the opening keynote speech talk. And I just, I love seeing such high quality work and high quality thinking, especially not from a firm that's on a coast, right?
Yeah.
And you are set in Salt Lake. So I'm curious, take me through a little bit of your journey of how you submitted yourself into Salt Lake. So Decker, you grew up in Montana, is that right?
Well, I was born in Butte, Montana, but I left when I was 1.
Ooh,
But
a lot of memories.
But I actually have a lot of memories because I spend a lot of time there. I love Montana. Grew up spending summers in Montana, and we now have my grandparents' home, so it's kind of stayed in the family. So I have deep roots in the West, I would say. I've lived in New York, in Switzerland, in Italy, and lots of years in Los Angeles, but I just love Utah, Montana. I'm loving Colorado since I've been here. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. So you left Montana when you were 1.
Yeah.
Then where did you move after that?
So I grew up basically in Southern California and moved to Utah when I was in high school. But my parents met in Utah in 3rd grade, so they also have a deep connection there. And the reason I ended up back in Utah after going to grad school and working is that my parents were there, and I had twins. I found myself with twins. So found myself with 2 incredible babies, but I was a little outside my zone of expertise and comfort. So
you were in Southern California, then Utah, and then you went to school at Columbia, is that?
I went to Columbia and also CyArk.
In CyArk?
Yeah.
In which order?
I went to Columbia first.
So you left Southern California, went across the coast, and then came back.
And then at CyArk, I studied in Los Angeles, and then I also studied in Switzerland. They had a campus. I know they have a couple international campuses, but they had a campus in Switzerland. So I lived in Ticino, Switzerland, and studied there, which was incredible. And then went back to Los Angeles.
And so how long had CyArk been around when you were there?
So they started in a warehouse in Santa Monica, and the famous warehouse, and I actually took an intro to architecture class there. And I remember going in, and there was like water dripping from the ceiling, and it was rough.
And people standing there and drawing it, using it for concepts. And
it was a lot of fun. But I went to the school when it was in the Marina Del Rey kind of warehouse. When I graduated, the commencement speaker was Frank Gehry. So that was pretty cool. But we were in a parking lot in folding chairs.
Nice. That sounds very CyArk.
It was very CyArk. It was awesome. And yeah.
Who was sort of leading the school at that time?
At the time, it was Michael Rotundi, who was incredible and a great leader. And I studied with Robert Mangorian and Marianne Ray, but then I took a class from Eric Owen Ma, and very different than other classes that I took. And And then I ended up working for Eric Moss. That's who I did my internship with. And I met him as a student. Yeah.
And so, when did Switzerland fall within that?
It was before that. I did my first year, I think, or semester in Switzerland.
Okay.
Yeah.
And going backwards a second, but like I know, sort of at Columbia at that time, there was kind of a few different camps, right?
Yeah, the decon.
Decon, and then then the sort of Stern.
Yeah,
maybe
right. Actually, I maybe shouldn't say this on camera, but that's why I left Columbia, because I didn't want to study with Stern, although I know he's an excellent educator. Excellent.
Yeah.
But and then I ended up, with Eric Moss, who's, Eric Moss, and just loved CyArk so much. I had a great experience.
And so you were kind of in this sort of like Frampton, Eisenman kind of area of.
I suppose, yeah.
And then they said, "Hey, go off to CyArk, complete best documentation." Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It seems like a long time ago when I think about design and how it's evolved. But it was a really fun time, special time, and I love studying architecture, which is why I still teach architecture. I mean, it's fun to be in the academic world and be experimenting and testing out ideas. And I was in a very experimental school.
And because what courses are you teaching now, or what?
I teach design studio, and usually they're the most advanced design studios. I teach the final year of our undergraduate, which is what I'm teaching currently, and then I teach the final semester of the graduate program, which they're all doing their independent kind of thesis projects. It's exciting.
It's fun, yeah.
It's really exciting to see them each kind of take their passion and, run with it for an entire semester. They have a semester to prep for it, and then I work with them as they get that prep and moving it into architecture. So it's awesome.
I also teach about every other semester at CU Denver here, and doing the final grad studio, and it is so fun, right? But it does take up so much time and effort.
Yeah.
And especially running a firm. And, I loved your talk today just because of the variety of drawings, models, ways of thinking, right? And it's so easy to kind of lose that or get that straightened out in a firm that wants to make money, right?
Yeah.
And it's so nice to see that staying. I'm curious a little bit about how you went about thinking about this presentation and how you set these up.
So it's always a challenge to decide what projects to share. One of the things that I wanted to show was the variety of projects and scale, from, a single family residence to things of a more community scale projects like the church, the community center, and the art center.
Yeah.
So kind of mixing that up, but we don't specialize. Back to, like, does that make sense financially?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Business of Architecture podcast here, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not the business of architecture. Yeah, probably we should specialize, but we're not going to. We won't ever, because I think we're a little bit more focused on trying to find people who care about the same things that we care about. And that is where you get to architecture. And so we don't really care if somebody has a small project or a single family residence or a mega project. If they have similar values and care about the same things, it's a good fit.
Right.
And I also think that this whole era of specialization isn't the best for our profession, because we start limiting our focus, and I think it's always better to expand our focus and learn. We learn a lot of things. I was just in line for coffee, and I was talking to somebody, and I was telling her how in the single family residences, a lot of times we can experiment a lot, and we can test out ideas and details and material things and that we wouldn't be able to on a university project, for example. So they kind of inform each other, even though when you get to an interview and they ask the question, how many do you have? And you know the person that's coming in the room next to you have 20 of them, they might be bad or mediocre. That's tough. That's tough.
Well, that's where it comes down to the client, right? If you're saying, hey, look at what they've done, and look at our cardboard models, which one do you want? Right?
Yeah.
And I'm curious about that, especially. So you were in LA, you had twins, you moved with your partner, I'm assuming, back to Salt Lake. You know, the idea of now you're limiting that amount of clients who are looking for the kind of work that you're doing, right? And how you build that firm up without losing the conceptual bones of it, you know?
Yeah.
Take me through that.
Okay,
Tell
right.
me how to do that.
I know. It's true because Los Angeles, there's a lot of really good architects in Los Angeles, a lot of great design, and a lot of sophisticated clients who care about design and architecture. So we weren't sure how that was going to work. And actually, when we moved there, we just thought we would commute to LA. We didn't think we could do anything in Salt Lake. We actually didn't think we could. So we're just kind of
Started a firm and
we started it in Los Angeles. Yeah.
for how long?
Maybe 5 years or 6 years. So we had been there for a while. Yeah. So we knew we wanted to keep that because we had something, and we had a partner. We have a partner who's been with us for 25 years. We've been in business 27 years, and he's been with us a long time. So anyway, we moved and we just thought, we're just going to commute. This is back before remote working, but
With your two infant twins.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Easy.
We didn't think this through very well, as you're hearing.
They're easy until they're like 6 months, right? These, they're each
They're like
put
nervous.
seats and
So, so then we started in Los Angeles. We moved to Salt Lake City. We did start kind of reaching out to people in Salt Lake City to see if we could, get some traction and some projects. And we ended up over time kind of building up a private set of clients in Utah, which is interesting because we really are actually really good at public work. And that's what we started. Los Angeles is all public work. So it was kind of interesting. The public clients would not hire us.
in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They wouldn't hire us.
Huh. Because you didn't check the boxes of what had been done before?
They didn't know us. I actually sat down for a debrief after not getting an important project.
Sure.
And the guy said, we have our favorite guys,
Okay.
And it was pretty harsh, but I probably needed to hear that because I realized we're never going to get work from them. So we just kind of focused on private instead of public, even though now we're starting to do more public work. But it's amazing how long it takes to break into that market when there's this old boys network that is really entrenched, and it was a little tough. But now we're doing a mix of projects there. We actually have more diverse portfolio in the Utah market than in California. It's still public. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really curious about this idea of, like looking at your St. Joseph the Worker church. It's just fabulous. I love it. I love it from the idea of reinterpreting Pochet, that the simple geometries coming together, the different spaces and light that you're able to create there. And, again, to me and somebody who's had a firm for less than 5 years, the idea of getting a commission like that, right? It seems very difficult. And it seems like in the profession, there's kind of two ways to go about that of just grinding, putting your nose down. Maybe you're doing churches that aren't good, right? Sometimes to say, hey, I have churches, and then hope someone hires you for the good one, or almost like thinking harder, right? Of like how you're engaging with this sort of art world or academic world or whatever to elevate your profile enough to get those projects. Did you do you see yourselves working in one sort of way or the other, or?
I think it's such a good question because it's both.
Yeah.
I think it's both. We had to do some work that isn't great, because, and there wasn't, when I say not great, I mean not a lot of design potential. So we did a few, kind of low level, low profile renovations to build up a modest portfolio and have a little more confidence in the clients that we had some skill set.
Sure.
So we did that, but we also have to do this other where we're honing our craft. We're working on our process. We're not going to give up, even though it's tough, and we're going to keep at it. And it's a challenge. Our field is challenging. It is
So easy, right? It's just so easy.
It's challenging, but so I think we have to do those kind of practical things, but we also have to make sure we don't lose the more passionate, artistic, rigorous,
Right.
Intellectually challenging, experimental side of architecture. That's the thing that's so cool about architecture, though. It's a complex profession, but you have to have a broad skill set.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And talk a little more. I love the way you label it, working through these conceptual constructs,
Mm-hmm.
right? I haven't heard it labeled like that, right? But it's a real freedom to, you were showing, sketches, you were showing beautiful models, conceptual models, right? And so talk a little bit about how the firm works in that way, and the sort of basis around those
Yeah.
experiments.
I think it is really important for us because what we see, and I see it in my students also, is people kind of go right into what they feel comfortable with, what they know. And, I feel like to move our profession forward, we should be creating new knowledge in architecture. And to create new knowledge, we do have to not reproduce what has already been done or what is the current fashion.
Right. Yeah.
And which is tricky because we have so many images out there around us. So our process is, the important part is that it's the first couple steps are non-architectural, and we don't go right into architecture. We try not to. A lot of our team, they're very talented, and so they want to go right into architecture. So that's why I said I kind of if we can slow down a little bit and do this research, reading, writing, idea exploration, and then kind of come up with this non-architectural conceptual construct, still not architecture, but embodies the ideas, embodies a set of ideas. Then our job after that is translating that, and we get to new architecture that way.
Right. And having your anchor that you can keep going back to and focusing on, and
Yeah, having it on the desk at the office and that we're looking at it. And you know how many questions come up in the process, like, how should we do this? And we have something to go back to. What would,
look at the stump.
Yeah.
What would the stump say?
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted, but yeah.
No, it's true. You have an anchor to refer back to, and that does tell you, it answers the question of, we have so many ways we can go, but we can also get off track during the design process. And then at the end, it's like, what happened? Where did our big idea go? So it helps us to remind the full team what the big idea is, so that we can refer back to it.
Yeah. That's so aspirational, like, again, from teaching and making my students do all these sort of things, right? And then going to my own firm, where, that time is limited. The kids are calling.
Yeah.
And I've been doing things of like, have a rendering style that really looks like a physical model style, you know, and says like, I don't have time to hew this massive wood base, right? But I can make it look like it, and it gives that same feeling or appearance and kind of works in similar ways, right? But it's shortcutting that thing. And I'm trying to make this into like a formula where each project has this model and has this and this, right? And trying to streamline it and be efficient. But the aspirational idea of like, no, let's break the system a little bit and slow it down.
Yeah.
It's hard, right? So, you don't do that for every product, do you?
You know, what I was going to say is it is aspirational, but we also live in a deadline-driven profession. So we have deadlines, and sometimes we can't. Sometimes that model ends up being a study model. We have to come back and finalize it. That happens. Yeah. But and sometimes we don't have time. Like we've had projects that you have to design the whole thing and produce it in 2 months. And so, yeah, what is lost is that process. And you do the best that you can. And so I guess it doesn't happen with all of our projects, but our goal is to have that happen with all of our projects.
Right. And when you have that aspiration in place, even if you're hitting 60% of it, it's still more than zero,
Yes.
right?
And we build it into our process too. For example, in in architecture, we have a conceptual, schematic, DD, CD phase, CA phases. What I've noticed is a lot of people are cutting out that first phase. They're going right into SD, schematic design. So we always like fight for this conceptual design phase, and sometimes the clients don't appreciate it or don't understand the value. So we say, well, this is when we're going to be doing our code research, our zoning analysis, and all those pragmatics that they do appreciate.
And our stumps. That's the stump carving. Yeah.
And we have to do all of it, but that's an intense, very important part of the process.
Right.
So
Pre-design.
yeah, pre-design is our conceptual design. I guess it has kind of moved away from calling it conceptual design because now schematics are kind of concepts. It's kind of a strange thing. We're collapsing our process a little bit because everything is so fast.
Yeah. And it also goes back to sort of like, again, how you're communicating that value to clients, right?
Yeah.
Of, if they're looking at a total spreadsheet of your fees and they're like, no, I don't want that, whatever that piece of kit is or whatever.
That would be easy to be cut.
Right. It'd be easy to be cut. But then I guarantee the thing that they're putting on their coffee table at the end of the project is that thing, right?
Yeah.
And appreciating it then. And that's, I feel like, what I've been working on lately, a lot of how do you demonstrate your value and how do you really get people excited about that process and those things and be able to communicate it? Because it can seem obvious to us, right? Oh yeah, let's design your house. But
Yeah.
have you really grown with that and being able to demonstrate sort of that process?
Well, I think some clients really appreciate it and are super into it and get really excited about the process and those concept models. Like, how did you come up with that? Which is exciting. And some of them don't care at all. They just want the final outcome. Yeah, the final result. And for us, it actually is okay either way. I think it's fine. Some people, we share that process with most of our clients, but not all, because we don't want them to think we're wasting their time and money, and
Yeah.
But it is important, but we kind of have to gauge how interested they are, and you talk to your clients about what they're interested in and have those conversations.
Yeah. Do you want this flashy hand or do you want this other thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing you sort of ended with was the idea that, especially in the profession, the things we control are seemingly less and less, and the things that are out of our control, and you were talking about sort of, okay, so what can we control, right? And how do we do that in a good way? Just to have you like kind of summarize that a little bit here.
Yeah. I feel like there's more and more things outside of our control.
Right.
The economy, that's not in our control. Fluctuations, politics, regulations, there's just a lot. And competitors, we face new competitors today that we didn't have. And I think there's going to be more and more of that. There's a lot of national and maybe even international competitors that weren't in our markets before. So,
And maybe non-human competitors.
yeah, actually, that's true. The whole, I went to the Tech Connect session yesterday, and it just made me really think about that too. So that can be discouraging, I think, for an architect who really cares about their work and what they do. But I think it is important to just focus on what we can control, and we can be the best architect possible, and have a rigorous process that we follow. And for some people that might evolve over time. We've kind of have a process that works pretty well. I am interested in how it evolves with AI in the picture now. But I know we'll continue to follow that, grounding in research, the idea of translations as part of the process, and that will continue. But we might lose some other things, or fold in some new things.
Yeah.
But that's the focus, is what we can control. And unfortunately, we can't be a control freak and an architect, right? It could be very discouraging.
You can't. There's the people who do, right? But it's definitely.
I mean, and just like you were talking about, just the amount of things you have to think about as an architect and as a firm owner, and trying to keep everything in balance. Is a lot. And I mean, again, as a younger architect, like, I just really appreciate seeing you here, seeing the work, and seeing that aspiration and how it can help spur the rest of us along. So thanks for coming.
You can visit architecting.com, that's architect-ing.com, to see images from this week's guest.
And please rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.
Have a great week and keep connecting.
This podcast is powered by The Plug.